It's the DORK podcast. It's the DORK podcast. Rich Keefe. It's the DORK podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Ricky Robbie Von Dicky Dobby. He is promo code Ron Von D. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan. Davey, how are you?
Pretty good now that you called me Dicky Dobby. That
not, not to be confused with Doiby Dickle.
No, and not to be confused. Was that old Ricky Tikki Tavi? Remember that book?
Ricky Tikki
Tembo. Ricky Tikki Tembo. No Sorrembo.
Of course,
remember that joint?
Of course I do, Ryan.
Yeah, you do.
How are things? How's it hanging?
Short, shriveled, and always to the left. No, it's all right. It's all right. This change in this getting dark at 5 can piss off.
Oh, I don't care for it. I know it happens every year, but it doesn't mean I'm any more used to it or enjoy it anymore.
No, it stinks.
There's that much.
It stinks.
Did you enjoy the weather this weekend? No, sorry.
I did. What about sports? What about you talk about sports enough? What about sport?
Did you see the results from the local football team? Actually, that's why we're recording early. For people listening to the podcast, you won't care. It's whatever. But if you stream it on the YouTube that we do on Monday nights, we usually like that sweet spot of 8:45. That's where we feel like we get the most in sweeps that for the primetime hours.
Yes.
But we're going early so we can watch the Patriots play Monday Night Football. So, Ryan.
Great. In a meaningless football game. Yeah.
And they've been fun to watch. Without further ado, let's get into the news of the week.
This week in DORK. Yeah.
All right, what we're going to do is very similar to last week. Throughout the Mandalorian, we are going to give you a little bit of a taste of the Mandalorian each episode in This Week in Dork. And then at the end, we're going to do a little bit more spoilers. And then when the whole season is done, we're going to do a whole standalone episode. But just give me a one-word answer on episode 2 of The Mandalorian. Did you like it?
Bugs! You wanted a one-word answer. That's my one-word answer.
I said non-spoiler, sir. Yeah. We'll break it down a little bit more, but it's only 8 episodes long, and we are now 2 in. And
the next 6 better be like,
yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying too.
I'm enjoying it. I do think it's good. I think it's the first 2 episodes have been like kind of one-offs, and they've kind of mentioned that there's a plot coming.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten there yet.
I know that people were complaining after the first episode, and I was way more of the there was enough for me, and like I that's what's cool about the show. And then when you follow it up with something that's probably has even less, I'm like, okay, I get it. Let's go.
Yeah,
come on. But like it looks cool. I like the character.
Right.
I like the expanded universe of it all. But
no, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the show. I'm
Yo quiero más.
Oh yeah,
I want
always.
More. I want more.
For those of you who don't Spanish habla, that's what he said. He said, "I want."
That's all
more.
that was. Yeah. That's 4 years of Spanish right there. Ryan, Dave Chappelle hosted Saturday Night Live.
He did
this past Saturday. Did you catch any or most or all?
I caught the first half.
Okay.
I thought his monologue, as always, was exceptional.
So funny, so good, so serious at times, but so real.
But like he made even a point of saying like I can't say anything of value without having a punchline, right. And like that's the world I live in now.
Yeah.
But there were some things that got with him now. It gets a little real at times, and you're like, and then he brings it back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did really enjoy the Uncle Ben sketch.
That was really good. With
when he made Pete Davidson spit out his teeth.
So good.
I thought that was really good.
Count Chocula. That was really good.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Look at Pete Davidson's lips.
I would say Maya Rudolph does a fantastic Kamala Harris.
Oh, she's so good.
Got,
Jim Carrey, I don't know. I say bring back Sudeikis as Joe Biden.
I think give somebody on the actual cast a crack at it.
Because it's too much.
You don't need to outsource everything. Like that's kind of annoying. Like that was what was great. Like Dana Carvey was a great George Bush. They didn't have to go looking for somebody to do George Bush. Or like when Daryl Hammond was there, a great Bill Clinton. You don't have to go outsource.
Daryl Hammond was everybody.
He was really everybody's right.
Yeah.
But Chappelle was good. There was like a one-off sketch too that Chappelle wasn't in that was pretty funny with Beck Bennett and then one of the relatively new girls, and he's like trying to get her back. Hilarious. So he's like, I've changed, and she's like, really? He's like, yeah, I quit drinking. She's like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, and I don't do coke anymore. She's like, wait, you did coke? And then it just goes up.
Like, just to get off the booze. I had to do the coke to get off the booze, and then it spirals. Yeah,
he goes, I did coke just to get off the booze, and the 2 years prior, and then it just gets worse and worse. It's great.
What was the thing he said? He got into porn, like really into porn, and she's like, well, that happens, and Blaze like, yeah, but like something about like acting, and she's like, hold up, you were in them?
You were in porn
with other women? He's like, well, not with women.
He goes, never women. That was a really good one.
Yeah, that was good.
Ryan, not to bring it down, pick of the pod here early. Actually, kind of seamless in from SNL, where Will Ferrell was great as him on SNL. But over the weekend, Alex Trebek sadly passed away, and he was 80 years old and pancreatic cancer. When you hear that, you're like, oh my God, like that's unfortunately the fucking worst.
It's basically, I hate to say it like this, but it's basically a death sentence. It's like they do a procedure. My father's best friend actually passed away from pancreatic cancer. And they do a procedure where they actually cut a piece of it off, and it's like a 20%, maybe will buy you some time. And it sounds like that's Trebek. I know Trebek had that procedure done, and it did buy him a little bit of time, but it just,
he kept working for a while. He kept doing his thing.
My wife said he filmed up until the 28th of October.
Insane.
That's crazy.
Now,
and that lose him, and the SNL thing too, lost him and Sean Connery within a week of each other.
That's nuts, because that was as good as there was. That helped really bring SNL back, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that was one of those great characters of the early 2000s. I've always, this about me, growing up, my goal job, like whatever, like what do you want to do, was game show host. I always wanted to be a game show host, and I think any Tom, Dick, or Harry can probably host any show except for Jeopardy.
Someone brought up a good point today. It was like a meme or something like that. Like and I never noticed this until someone brought it up, but like nothing fazed him. Like any asinine thing that those dorks would say on Jeopardy, he would be like, wow, that sounds pretty interesting, and just move on.
And he would have 3 interviews where he'd make all of these zeros sound somewhat interesting right down the line. But then what's crazy is the rapid fire ability to read all those questions from every different type of expertise, and to be able to pronounce everything right. I would have no fucking chance. Every game I'd be like, line, like what? Help me here.
No, he was the concept, like, and just a good dude from the stories you hear from everybody.
Yeah. So I don't think that would also be the weirdest one. Now, I also thought it was really strange when they replaced Bob Barker, because he was such an institution
with Drew Carey.
And there was Drew Carey, and I watched it a little bit, and it was whatever. It was fine. It did definitely lose something, but I almost can't even imagine somebody else hosting Jeopardy,
because it's not a funny show. Like, you can't have like
no, you don't want a comedian.
You don't the show. In some, like, Bob Barker was The Price is Right, much like, but it's. I feel like Alex Trebek always put it on the contestants. Like, the show was about the contestants. It wasn't about him.
It was, but he's just such a steadying presence. Yeah. And do you think Ken Jennings could host it?
I think so.
I think he could. I don't think Holzhauer could.
He's too much of a personality. It would be all about him.
Jennings would be a good straight man, I think. And you're like, well, this guy probably fucking does know all the answers. So I'm legit.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to look. Yeah, no, that's not right. Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do there, but pick of the pod, certainly to Alex Trebek. All right, Dave, let's get to the next portion of the program here.
This is This Week in Horrible Rossi Takes.
All right, this is kind of actually sort of adjoining the last week's Horrible Rossi Take. So last week's Horrible Rossi Take, he tweeted that he has never seen nor has interest in seeing Borat or Borat 2.
Which is it's such a normie, contrarian bullshit thing to say.
It's a loser thing to say by a loser. And the thing that, the good news about that, though, was it sort of led us to the topic du jour. Like, that sort of organically happened, because we're like, oh, that's a movie you have to see. I hate to be that guy that, oh, you have to see this. But that actually is one where, oh, you have to see this. So I was listening to their episode this week. He and Billy D, of course, do the Pop Culture Pile Driver podcast.
Sure.
And they were doing a best road playlist, like ride along playlist, like in the car.
Don't even get me
car
started
ride.
on that. The whole fucking thing is a bad take.
By the way, so they each picked 11 songs, and at one point in there, Billy like referenced like, oh, that one of them was kind of on his list, and Rossi's like, oh, like, well, you should still take it, and Billy's like, well, but you took it. Like, I think Rossi was still of the mind that you could just all have the same. I forget the details. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
but he like doubled and tripled down on his Borat / Sacha Baron Cohen take, where he said he had all these very insulting things to say about the Ali G show. He said it was like stupid and he hated it. I'm like, that's one of the great shows because Ali G, Borat, and Bruno are all amazing characters. And so when you get the best of all three of them, I thought at times I would laugh more at Ali G than even the other two guys that ended up spinning off and getting movies.
And it's just so, and I think
a great show.
It's a great
dumb.
show.
I'm like, it's actually the opposite. It's very smart.
It's the opposite. And I think where William is missing the point, or no, sorry, not William. Where
William
Jason
gets
is missing the point.
Jason
is missing the point is that Ali G is supposed to be stupid.
Right.
Like him asking Donald Trump if he wants to invest in ice cream gloves is dumb, but like given who he's talking to, that's genius. And the fact that what you can't understate is how this guy gets in the room with these people,
with Pat Buchanan and Boutros Ghali.
I did the snap thing, but like how he gets them to say these ridiculous things with a straight face.
It's a great show. God damn it.
It's so good. And that's like, obviously the Borat stuff is really, really good in that show. Yeah. And the Bruno stuff is
Bruno's hilarious.
I will be the first to admit, I didn't like the Bruno movie. I didn't care for it, but Bruno,
I don't think he didn't need a movie, but his little standalone skits or sketches or interviews were great.
Like 5 minutes of Bruno is perfect.
That's all you need.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hour and a half. I'm a little bit more out on that, but anyway, so he's just doubling down on that. I couldn't believe it.
I think he's just digging his heels in at this point. I don't really think he believes that. He can't.
Maybe. Probably not. Can't. No, and then he went on to say how good How I Met Your Mother was, so yeah. Anyway, all right, that'll do that. Let's move on to something. Let's move on to something.
Wait, I'm gonna breathe that out for a second.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
It's time for Davey's video game minute, even if it takes more than a minute.
All right, Rye, big week. What do you got?
I don't even know if I have the strength to carry on anymore.
After that, I know it. We should do that. We should do that bit at the end. We should.
Anyway, it's a huge week. And this week, as all weeks, is brought to you by the wonderful people at Wild Bill Soda. Use the promo code Ron Von D. Get you some Wild Bill Soda. Take a little % off for yourself. You know.
Come on, you owe it to yourself. You're sitting around.
The best. I guarantee you, this is the best soda you'll ever drink. What kind of soda do you like? They got it.
I like a black cherry. Do they have that?
They have that. They also have probably the best grape soda I've ever had in my life, and a nice spicy ginger ale.
Ooh,
with just a little spice in it that kicks your ass.
Because Ryan, you know what people need to do? It's the holiday season, and it's very important to, buy gifts for others and show that you care for others. But treat yourself.
Treat yourself to a little bit of a Wild Bill Soda, or buy it for someone if you've had it and you like it, buy it for someone you love.
Give it as a gift, you idiot. Give it as a gift.
You bimbo. Give it to whoever, right? Go to Wild Bill Soda. Use the promo code Ron Von D. Veteran-owned and operated Wild Bill Soda. Great company out of New Jersey. Check them out. Wild Bill Soda. Now, as you said, we have a very large week this week. We need to get this. We need to make this tight. What console are you getting this week, Richard?
I'm not getting any console because I got shut out.
So did I. And to make matters worse, I found out, as I tweeted out earlier in the week, late last week, that they are now not putting them in stores on launch day.
Yeah,
because they don't want people being idiots.
I was at Target this weekend, and there was a sign that was like, "For your safety, we will not have PS5s on the floor." I was like,
but okay. I'm told that on launch day they will have their next round of. You can pick it up in store. You just can't go into the store and try to buy one.
Oh.
So you can order it online and go get it. You just can't show up to the store with $500 and wave it in their face.
Huh.
So be ready. Wednesday night into Thursday to do your pre-order then. Technically it's a pre-order.
Yeah, I just assumed, and this was this again, your classic case of what happens when you assume.
Right.
But I thought being hosts of such a high level podcast that we would have just been sent PlayStation 5.
Which they were. They send them out to members of the media.
That's
as far
us.
as I can tell.
We have a podcast, for Christ's sake.
We get press passes to Connecticut Comic-Con, bitch.
I checked my mail today. No PS5.
I got nothing
tomorrow.
Matt got a controller.
More than I got.
Use.
Well, no, but it's pretty cool to look at, I bet.
Yeah. Speaking of that, though, Miles Morales, the Spider-Man Miles Morales game is coming out to rave reviews.
Yes.
I cannot wait to play this game. And then they give you another thing, and they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, special edition Miles Morales Adidas Superstars, which I know you're a fan of. You used to have a pair of Adidas Superstars.
I did.
Are going to be a limited release. That they're going to actually, the shoes he wears in-game are going to be available.
Are they not going to also give the Jordans? Are they
no
going to
Jordan.
be in the game?
So, and the reason was, and I was
Jordan, not an
friend
NBA
of the
Jam, and not in Spider-Verse.
Listen, friend of the podcast, Eric Monticelli, tweeted out today, the executive, the head of production at Marvel Games, said in a tweet that the reason that they went with Adidas is because in their game, Miles is a beat maker. He makes beats. And anybody from New York will know
Run DMC.
Run DMC. That's why he wears Adidas. So there's an actual reason. If you know your history of hip hop, you will know that Adidas in New York City and hip hop go hand in hand.
All right, I like that.
The other thing, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out. I watched people play advanced copies of this on Twitch. I'm not that blown away with it. It doesn't seem like that good enough of a leap.
Okay.
To next gen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just something about how they do with snow, like trudging through snow in Assassin's Creed. They haven't really figured out. It's slow. It looks slow.
So if you did get a PS5 on launch day, the first game you would play would be
Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and then I would play. There's another game I think coming out called Godfall, which is by the people who made Borderlands. So I would check that out as well.
All right.
But yeah, so there's that.
I like that.
Another game that's coming out this week that I'm very excited to play. It's by Harmonix, which is a Boston-based company that made Rock Band and the very first Guitar Hero. Called Fuser, which is basically you're like a stadium DJ, like a festival DJ. Oh, so it's like a little bit of DJ Hero and Guitar Hero, but you're like mixing beats together with like different songs. Which I'm so excited. And the best part about this game is you can collab. So look out for me and Shime.
Oh, shit.
Start dropping beats together.
Come on.
And doing the whole DJ thing, like dancing and like playing music for everybody.
Take those beats and then play them on the podcast?
I hope so.
Okay.
There should be a feature to save them because there's you can do different drops and you can customize it and all that.
I like that. Hopefully. I like that already. I'm in the groove. That's nice.
There is a hardware update coming to the PlayStation 5, which it will eventually let you play in 8K.
Fucking 8K.
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 Right?
What do I gotta get a new TV now?
And I'm going to tonight play the demo for Zelda Age of Calamity, which is the new Zelda game, which is eventually coming out.
Good.
For the Nintendo Switch. And the new Oculus Quest is out now. It's completely wireless. Looks dope.
I like it.
There we go. There's a video game in it for you. As always, brought to you by the wonderful people at Wild Bill Soda. WildBillSoda.com. Promo code Ron Von D.
Great gift this holiday season.
There it is.
Ryan, let me ask you a very simple question.
Sure.
Are you ready for the topic du jour?
I'm sorry?
Well, I'm glad you asked because it's the topic of the day. And today, it is essential movies, a.k.a. the top 25 essential Dork podcast movies. Now, a little bit of a description here.
Yes, this is important.
It's not necessarily the 25 greatest movies.
No.
That's a different list altogether. It might not even be my 25 or your 25 favorite movies of all time.
No.
Also a separate list, although there would certainly be some overlap, but a separate list. This is sort of and it got brought up last week because we were talking about Borat and how you need to have seen it. So especially for people of our generation, we're kind of using this as if you want to sit with us at lunch, these are the movies that you have to see. These are just sort of a running thing that we probably reference or quote, not just on the podcast, but in day-to-day life, and are just part of the fabric of who we are. Right.
And and I think the important thing here is that, like you said, these are not our favorite movies. These are not movies that I would even, at some of these movies, I wouldn't even consider to be like great. But one of the things we always hear about this podcast, that you and I, the feedback we get all the time, is that we're kind of cheating because we have this shorthand where we know each other very well.
Yeah.
And this is why, is because we've seen, and
it's these movies
we've seen over 25 years, we have done and seen most of the same stuff.
And I think for our listeners who are we're in our mid to late 30s, there you could sort of grasp these movies. Whereas I think guys who like Mac and Goo are younger than us, so they might have a sort of similar, but then a few other ones. People who are older than us might latch onto a few more that we don't have. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of tell, like if once this list is done and you saw all the movies on here, you could probably guess the age ballpark of who made the list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's begin. And right out of the chute, I'm telling you it's 25 movies, but it's also not 25 movies.
It's not 25 movies. We set out doing 25.
We fudged it, but it's our own fucking idea. So you got to, deal with that, I guess. First things first, and this is a very obvious one. This sort of goes hand in hand with the idea of this podcast anyway. Star Wars. Simply Star Wars. And I think when we tried to limit it to one, I think when we talked about it before, try to limit it to one, both of us would say Empire Strikes Back. Empire 100%.
Realizing you can't do that. But I think
it's smack dab in the middle of a trilogy, but
yeah, but everybody's like, if you're a person who can say like, I've never seen a Star Wars, like, you probably aren't going to get 70% of what the hell I'm talking about.
We're going to have a hard time here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a very difficult time.
That's an easy one. Like that's an easy one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think you're talking about the sci-fi, this universe thing, like the whole thing. Like one of the movies that we love too is Guardians of the Galaxy. And you're like, oh, it's like Marvel Star Wars, right? It's like, that's why it was so good, is because it's like Star Wars. Like it's just, it's the best thing.
And what makes it more important to us that was the first time I felt that liking something sci-fi and quasi dorky was cool.
It was.
Like if you knew, and I remember like if you knew, because I remember playing with all like the Star Wars figurines.
Yeah.
And I knew all their names. Like, and like if that was kind of cool. Like, oh, that's, Salacious Crumb, Salacious B. Crumb. Like, you don't know who that is? You know what I mean? So like that was the first time being a dork felt cool.
Was the best. And that's sort of that's what sort of more from being a geek nerd dweeb into a dork, because a dork was like, yeah, I like this shit. Like, what do you want from me? Star Wars is also very important to me because I remember I was 10 years old. I broke my hand playing baseball in the summer, and that was way before they had like waterproof casts. So if you had a cast in the summer, it was the absolute pits.
You were sunk.
All I did was watch movies. My mom would take me to the video store all the time, and I saw so many goddamn movies when I was 10. And I remember asking my dad, I was like, "What's your favorite movie?" And he was like, "Star Wars." So the first thing we did, we went out there, rented the Star Wars trilogy, and I was like hooked immediately. And so since 1994, I've been obsessed with Star Wars. The next one, also we're fudging it here because I believe there is 24 of these movies, 23 or 24.
Yeah,
there's basically an entire list anyway, but very clearly a working knowledge of the MCU. We both highlighted Infinity War and Endgame. That's sort of obviously the climax. There are ones you can skip without a doubt. There are like Incredible Hulk, Thor 2. Like there are plenty of ones that you can skip. But between Star Wars and the MCU, that is obviously, I bet if we went through, this is our 213th episode on WEEI, close to half probably are either about or reference Star Wars or the MCU,
which is an amazing thing. And again, we talk about it so much, but 23 movies, all interconnect, like building a world of movies. That ambitious of an undertaking is incredible, and something that I will talk about for the rest of my life. Right. When people are, I saw every single one of those movies I saw in theater.
Yeah,
everyone.
Wow. That's probably true. It's funny too, because you had made the point a while ago, and you were right. As somebody who enjoys and has a wealth of knowledge of mythology, how sort of you made the point that the modern day mythology for so many is Marvel.
It's this. I mean, this is what it is. It's the new lowercase g, but like gods.
It is.
That's who it's superheroes.
Yeah, and this was so good too because it's funny. So this was like went from comic books to the movie. Star Wars did the opposite. Star Wars went from the movie and now also to comic books.
Right.
But this is sort of just blending all of that together and like all those characters that we grew up reading about, or they would have spin-off cartoons or whatever, and then seeing them on the big screen. Like just the fucking best.
And just perfectly cast, meticulously cared for. Awesome shit.
The next one on our list, again, so that's technically 2. I know we already fudged it, but Star Wars, the MCU. We're going to single this one out because for a while, I think you could say it was the greatest comic book movie of all time. There's definitely competition for it, but going with The Dark Knight here as an essential movie.
Going as insofar as like we talk a lot about anything non-MCU, we focus on Batman, whether that is on purpose or by accident. I think it's more by accident. I think you and I are just more drawn to that.
Yeah.
The story is so deep and rich. Like I don't use like the word mythology again, but surrounding Bruce Wayne and that character is so good. And I think that this is the best depiction of Batman on film.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's the best villain probably.
And again, like the best DC hero and villain together in one movie.
Yeah. And also,
say what you want about the Burton Keaton. I mean, the Keaton Nicholson one was good, but like it's really nailed it.
This was so good, and we needed a Christopher Nolan movie on there too. It just so happened to be The Dark Knight.
Take your pick, yeah.
Like he's got so many good ones. We did a whole episode on Nolan you can check out in the archives, but The Dark Knight is so good. Give us the next one.
So the next one obviously holds a special place in our heart. It's something that we feel very, very strongly about. And I remember seeing this movie and immediately thinking, like, I got to tell Rich to watch this movie. And that is King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. Probably to this day, my favorite episode that we've ever done. I love this movie. And we talk about, to this day, I mean, that movie's 10 years old, and we still talk about the people in the movie. And like,
it's
just
incredible.
one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And something that toes the line of being so silly, but people take it so seriously.
Right.
Because that's what our life, that's you and I, that's the life we live. It's silly. I know it is. I know it, but we take it seriously. And the pitfalls and just the two central characters are such polar opposites that it's amazing. It's an amazing story. That to this day is still going on. They can make another one.
Yeah, they can. And Billy Mitchell's got all kinds of issues still going on now. He's tweeting about all the stuff he's going on. And it's just it's a simple yet very difficult game that everybody has played. So you can wrap your head around it. You're like, oh, Donkey Kong? Like the Donkey Kong record? You're like, yeah, I'd play. I'd, lose my lives and then I'd move on. I'm like, not really. But then you see these guys who are obsessed with it. But just the way the whole thing is done, like it's perfect. And they've become characters. Again, it's very niche, but I feel like that's our niche.
That's all our niche. And if we quote it all the time, and one of the, I was just thinking about another movie, but it combined with this movie, it was like, he has the world nibbler record.
Nibbler.
What the fuck is nibbler?
Best line of the whole movie. He was like, the guy was like blown away by it, but then also had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I like Man versus Snake too, but again, it all is, you compare it all to the King of Kong.
And we like Man vs. Snake because we like King of Kong so much.
Yeah. And there's a lot of overlap, but like what a community. Like it's I like when people are passionate about certain things. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be something that I like. Like I still think one of the better episodes of Mac and Goo was they had Shime on and they were doing a Pokemon draft. I don't know fuck all about Pokemon.
Me neither. But I was riveted.
But they were so into it, and they were just ripping off names and ripping off facts, and just like they were like clearly passionate that I listened to the whole thing. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Never.
But I was like,
not once.
And this King of Kong thing's the same way. Like the way they talk about records, the way they talk about like other games, you're like, what a world. Yeah. But they enjoy it. So God bless them. They're not miserable. They're happy about it.
It put us on the map because you and I grew up going to Fun Spot. So it's
good point.
And now to learn that Fun Spot is like the mecca for these dudes.
Oh, that's
they even say that like it's the holy land for a classic video game. Like we grew up there.
Sums it up. Really?
Like we grew up there.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It's what made it real for us,
That was good. Fittingly, the next movie on our list of essential movies is This is Spinal Tap, which is hilarious because you see movies like King of Kong or you see all these real documentaries, and then you realize that these Christopher Guest movies aren't that far off. Like
No.
they feel as real as the other ones, as it turns out. And this is Spinal Tap is amazing. It's the first one of all the Christopher Guest ones. It combines all of the music is so good too, which is one of the best parts. And so this one had to be on the list.
I just unplugged my camera by accident, but it doesn't matter. But yeah,
I got your audio though. Okay,
I got
good.
my
I was
audio,
wondering
so
what was
I'm loud and
happening.
clear. So, and again, this is a movie that I think you and I watched together dozens of times.
Yeah.
And every time we watched it, we would wind up quoting something else. Like we would, and then, like there was little and like the deleted scenes and stuff. Like we would die just watching the deleted scenes.
That's just it. When you start quoting deleted scenes, you know that it's sort of next level. And it's like, if people get that reference, like we were talking about, like when Nigel is in the green room and he's looking at all the food, remember it? And he's like all upset about the food. And then he's looking at like the olives, and there was like the little piece of the olive wasn't in there. And he's like, look, who's in here? No one. And then over here, it's a little guy. And
it's a little guy.
It's the dumbest shit. But like you would quote that. Or like when he was looking at his shirt, remember he had like the skeleton shirt. He's like, this is an exact replica of my insides. And the guy's like, really?
Done in a t-shirt. And he's like, it's not green, is it? It is green.
It's green.
And it was so much more than like these go to 11, because that's funny. But like, there's so much to that movie that is so funny.
The fact that the songs are good, I love.
Big Bottom is the shit.
Big Bottom is good.
And like the fact that they're all playing bass guitars while playing Big Bottom, like that's a musical joke that I got and thought it was awesome.
Fucking Stonehenge, and what was the other? Give Me Some Money. I still sing that all the time. I'm always like, give me some money, don't make me come right out and tell you. Give me some money. They went through all their different eras. It's so good.
Yeah, and they do the Jazz Odyssey.
Oh my god!
And the puppet show. Yeah. So, all right, I'm not going to fix this camera anytime soon, but you can still hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah,
my mug. Yeah.
Audio's good. But yeah, so that one's on there. I mean, I think that one we referenced that. I also love Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman, but really we're just putting Spinal Tap on this list. The next movie is Fight Club. And Ryan, this one is good, and I think it's important. And reason why it's an essential movie as well is it'll often get referenced, or if there's a movie that you're watching where you think there could be like a twist ending, what do you say? You say
like a Fight Club situation.
Is this going to be like Fight Club? Is it going to be like Fight Club?
Or if the main character you think at some point is talking to himself.
Yep.
Or it's like an alter ego. You're like, they're going to Fight Club it.
This is Fight Club. This is fun. Plus, I mean, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton are both fantastic. Helen Bonham Carter is great in this. And it's violent, it's sweet, but it's got the crazy ending. It's really everything that I would want in a movie.
And it was so not what I expected. And it's one of the only movies that the author, Chuck Palahniuk, says that the movie is better than his book.
Wow. Interesting that he would say that.
If you think, because it's all written in like I Am Jack's whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't get the interaction really between the two characters. And I think if you were to see, in my mind, like he saw Brad Pitt's character and then assumed that, you know what I mean? Like that was his alter ego. That's who he wanted to be. So if you could be anybody and look like anybody, you would want to look like and act like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. Just the fucking coolest dude. You know, who just did whatever he wanted, dressed however he wanted, did whatever he wanted. Like, it was awesome.
And Meatloaf was in it.
And Meatloaf, who had big bosoms.
Well, yeah, he did. Yeah. Movie's messed up, but it's great. Ryan, take the next one on our list here.
The next one on our list, if you are a person of a certain age, I think like we are.
Yes.
There was no movie that kind of encapsulated who I was. I watch this movie now and I see myself at the age of like 17 and 18. And that movie is American Pie. This to us was like our Breakfast Club.
So this is, I'm glad. Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, where American Pie, like, I think maybe for like Mac and Goo and people younger than us, it would be super bad, which I also really, really like.
Which I
for
like.
people older than us, it's either Breakfast Club or it might be like Fast Times at Ridgemont High or like a movie like that. Whereas for us, this is the sweet spot. American Pie was the movie you had to see.
And it was great because all of the friends in that movie, I was that guy at different times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like I identified with every character in that movie in some way. You know, you had Oz, who was an athlete. Like you and I were our athletes. But also I liked music and I liked to sing. And I did take Latin like Finch.
Yeah.
Because he keeps talking about having to go to Latin class and he goes and takes his poops before Latin or something like that.
Oh, Shipwreck. Yeah. Great character.
If anyone was Stifler, that was my older brother. That was me dealing with my older brother. Thank you for putting that up there. I'm right there.
I was gonna put a picture of you up there. Oh, I wish it could be bigger, but we'll go with this one.
So if I was, and like I had a serious girlfriend, like pretty much all through college, who broke my heart and ruined everything for me. So I had that aspect of it too. So it was. I see those guys now and I cringe, but look at that guy. That's a better one. Yeah,
I'll go with that. I'll go with that one.
You know what I mean? So
they had all the characters right. You had Stifler, but you also had Stifler's mom. Like this movie invented MILFs. There wasn't MILFs. We didn't call them MILFs until American Pie. Think about that. Yeah. Like that's just in everybody's vernacular now.
Mm-hmm. And what was it? It was just 4 guys.
Yeah,
5 guys just looking to hump.
I to that point had never fucked a pie, and then that's all I would do. I would just get the nicest, warmest pie.
You thought about it after the fact. You're like, what if? Like you didn't do it. No one ever did it, but you're like, what if?
Oh my god, seriously. No, but that movie is super important, and it still holds up, and it's still funny. Like it is.
You want to introduce the next one?
I do want to introduce this next one, and this movie is one of my favorites. It would be on my best, favorite, and essential category, and that's Scream.
And I reluctantly put it on my list.
You put it on there?
There is, yeah, I did, but there's a reason.
Yeah, and I just think, first of all, we love horror movies, and a horror movie is going to make it. And then a horror movie that recognizes other horror movies is great because you have characters that were kind of like the Randy Meeks character who would constantly reference other movies and quote movies. And then even the killers having movies like quoted all the time, I think is great. It's sort of the modern day thing. And we were, this wasn't a movie that came out before we were alive. This movie came out kind of in our sweet spot as well. And I don't know. It's sort of like the modern classic, if you will. So I had to have Scream on there.
And I put it on my list because I know, and this is going to sound cheesy, but like I know it meant so much to you. And this is one of the ones that we kind of disagree on. Yeah,
we do. We disagree on it a little bit, but I just think the opening of the movie is so good and so important. The idea of, and like another reason why it's essential is because it's things that we might bring up again, or things that you have to kind of have in your holster, or like your knowledge holster.
Yeah.
Because if there's a movie where a character you think is going to make it a really long time and is maybe the most famous name in the movie and they die, the first thing I think of is Scream. Like I know it happened in Psycho, but you're like, oh, this is going to be like Drew Barrymore in Scream. And so, yeah. And great point. Joshua in the chat. This is also what I'm talking about. He goes, I don't think there are 25 episodes that don't reference Scream.
I think anytime,
great point.
Or have like, I'm looking behind you in the Dragon's Lair, and there could be like a Scream mask from time to time. You switch it up a little bit behind you, so like there could be a Scream mask there. So it's like Superman and Seinfeld. It just shows up from time to time.
Yep.
So
I'm with you.
It's a movie that's important to us.
Yes.
As a team.
So it was going to be on there. Ryan, what is the next one?
The next movie is Anchorman. Now this is the original Anchorman and the theatrical Anchorman, not Wake Up Ron Burgundy, which does
I've
exist.
Also seen, and I would also quote from time to time and forget which was which. But this movie is, out of the ones we've done so far, actually, I'd probably tie it with Spinal Tap, but just insanely quotable. Like as quotable as it gets, and memorable characters. Ron Burgundy, the quotes, the gifs, the memes, all of that. But Champ and Brick and Brian, like they're just all of them are all-time comedy characters.
And at the time, I remember hearing Will Ferrell had been in some movies before, and Old School was before this, right?
Old School was a year before this.
Yeah,
which
so
I love. The Old School is actually my favorite. I think it's still my favorite comedy, and I quote it a lot, and it just missed this list, spoiler alert. But I thought Anchorman was a little bit more encompassing, and Ron Burgundy is a greater character than even Frank the Tank. So I'm glad Anchorman's on this list, but Old School I think is funnier.
And I think, as you said, this is more palatable for a wider audience. Like, this is so quotable, so funny. I mean, people still say Milk was a bad choice, 20 years later.
All the time. Fun fact about me, every time I'm asked to do a mic check, wherever that may be, like we're doing a remote broadcast or whatever, I run through all the shit that Burgundy does. The How Now Brown Cow, the Human Torch was denied a bankload, the arsonist has oddly shaped feet, the tarantula enjoys a fine chewing gum, all of that shit, just one after another.
And what I do, which is funny, because what I do when we do live shows with the Mac and Goop podcast is I do the mic check that David St. Hubbins does from Spinal Tap when he goes, "This is mic number 1. Isn't this a lot of fun?" Like, that's my mic check, and that's a reference to Spinal Tap.
Right.
Crazy.
It is. Anchorman's also, as much of a movie buff as I am, you know me, I'm also a frugal fanny. Sure. So I don't typically see movies twice in the theater, but I saw Anchorman twice in the theater.
I think I did too, and I think I saw it with a girlfriend at the time.
Nice.
And then said to all of my friends, "You need to go see that. I'm going with you. You need to come with me and see this again."
Yeah. That's how, I mean, it was that good. Like there's some good lap.
I remember I saw it with my girlfriend and her mother.
Oh,
and the scene with the pleats, the Mr. Burgundy, you have a massive. I was crying, laughing, crying.
I still can't say San Diego without saying it means a whale's vagina.
All that stuff. I mean, we say that shit all the time. So, like, essential movie you need to see. I don't know who hasn't seen Anchorman at this point, but
right. No, I know, but it's one that's going to get referenced a lot. So make sure not only you can't just see it, you have to have like a pretty good working knowledge of it. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of the jokes.
And that's another one. So John in the chat brought up too. Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. I don't know how many times I've said that out loud.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would be, or like the man punted Baxter, like bark twice if you're in Milwaukee. Like
I've also threatened to take friends' mothers out to a nice seafood dinner and then never call them again.
or Mr. Ron Burgundy and his Yaz flute. I'm not prepared. All right. And then he shoots it right out of his arm. The next one, we don't need to spend a ton of time on because we talked about it last week, but Borat, you have to see.
You have to see Borat.
You have to see it.
Borat, one of the greatest, holy shit comedies ever. And the whole thing, we like my wife thing that we did for the longest time. Obviously, that's from Borat. I mean, you can't
are my
say,
best friend. Hold me tight. Like,
what?
Remember that? He's hugging the guy.
Yeah. It's just a fucking genius movie.
Fucking genius movie.
Yep. Speaking of genius movies.
Yes, this movie was just voted the #1 horror movie according to the hashtag DORK Gooniverse. And again, because we love horror so much, had to put Halloween on there.
Halloween. And if you were going to potentially be friends with us,
yes,
and you haven't seen Halloween, we have an issue. Yeah.
It's the soundtrack or the score, it's the villain, it's the simplicity of it, it's just the timeless classicness of it all has to be on there.
Has to be on there.
All right, you give us the next two.
I'm going to give you the next two.
Very popular ones for you.
They're very me movies, and I reference them all the time, and they are two of my favorite 80s movies ever. That being Roadhouse and Big Trouble in Little China. I will talk about these movies at length with anybody. I can quote the entire movie of Roadhouse, like word for word. I've seen it so many times. Anytime it's on TV, I watch it. It's become a inside joke in my marriage where, like, if it's on, I'm going to watch the whole thing, and my wife will just get up and leave the room. There are times where she'll come in sit down, see that Roadhouse is on the TV, and then get up and walk away. Yeah. It's become that. Similarly, John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China is probably one of my favorite non-John Cusack 80s movies.
Yeah.
I think that movie has everything. And again, I will talk to anybody who will listen about Big Trouble in Little China and how awesome it is.
My wife couldn't have been more confused by it when we watched it a couple years ago. She was like, "What is this?" I'm like,
"Why?
This is what it is.
It's what it is.
What do you want?
It's supernatural. You have the undead. You got fighting in the streets, which is a Chinese showdown. Who knows what a Chinese showdown is, but they got one.
They got one right there if you want to watch it.
It gets shot up at a funeral, apparently.
Yep.
I love this movie. There's monsters.
Mm-hmm. Fucking monsters.
It's fucking monsters and kung fu. Like, what the hell else you need?
And we needed more representation of the 80s, too, so this had to be on there.
Kurt Russell is so goddamn good in this movie.
Oh, my God.
I have a little Jack Burton. You can't see it, but I got my little Jack Burton Funko on the desk.
You can't see anything.
Coolest outfit.
Yep.
Coolest outfit. He's got Ugg boots, jeans, and a tank top. What an outfit.
That's great.
Yeah, I love those two movies.
All right, Ryan, we had to include a Quentin Tarantino movie. He's one of my favorite directors, and we went with Pulp Fiction. That's one we can both agree on. I know we've had some friction on some of his other ones, but Pulp Fiction we love. But also, another reason why it's so essential is when you're watching a movie and they start chopping it up out of order, the first thing you say is, what is this, like Pulp Fiction? What are they doing, the Pulp Fiction? They're telling it like that, even though there have been other movies that have done that. But you associate that, or there are certain lines from that movie, characters from that movie, unknown things about that movie, like the whole Ving Rhames briefcase thing. Like, is it his soul? Is it not? Like, I feel like you end up referencing that and wondering, is this movie doing a little Pulp Fiction action here?
And is it the movie that made Samuel L. Jackson?
I think it definitely put him over the top. I'm trying to think of the stuff he was in. He was in a lot of movies before, but
he was in Goodfellas. He was in I'm trying to think, but like,
he's in a bunch of Spike Lee movies. Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, now.
Yeah. You think of from this.
Jules from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
And that's 1994, so that movie's 26 years old.
Yeah, it's old.
And that's the guy. Like, that's the guy Samuel L. Jackson is now, and I think it's due in part to that movie. Christ, I'm going through his film credits right now. Holy smokes! We
actually did an episode, I believe, Samuel L. Jackson movies. You can check the.
I mean, he was in right before that. He was in True Romance.
Yeah, he had a small role in True Romance. And
Hold on to your butts.
Oh yeah. All right, the next movie on here, again, we're cheating, but it's our list, so take a hike. It's Friday and next Friday. So Friday's great.
This might be the movie you quote the most.
I think I quote Next Friday a ton. Friday's also very good, and it was amazing because you go Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, his character Smokey, you were like, he didn't want to come back for the next one, or he was doing Rush Hour or whatever.
He was making so much money, and he thought he big timed him. Yeah.
So you're like, they won't be able to top that. But they did. They got a little crazier. Like, Friday's definitely a comedy, but it's a little bit more real. Whereas Next Friday, they're like, we're just going to embrace how crazy Mike Epps is and the character of Day, who I love. I love this movie. It's hilarious. And looking at this list that we have, most of these movies we had on DVD when we were in high school, and we would just pop on over and over again.
Yes, and I think I remember listening to you talk about how pissed you were when you found out that, because you were a big Chris Tucker guy.
Yes, I was. I loved Money. And another movie that I love that not a lot of people talk about is Money Talks. Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen. Watch that movie, and I guarantee you will at least urinate your pants a little bit, because it's just that good.
And I remember you were pissed that Chris Tucker wasn't in Next Friday, but then talking to you after and how happy you were that Mike Epps played Day.
He was so good.
Mike Epps is so funny as Day. As you know, Ice Cube, he's the wacky to Ice Cube's straight man.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a great combination. And Next Friday, unbelievably quotable. Anytime anyone's running anywhere, Rich Keefe will inevitably like you will inevitably do that.
Oh my God.
And we reference this movie all the time.
Or
I am a big fan of Elroy, Uncle Elroy.
Uncle Elroy has one of the best lines ever. And I still say it, even though it doesn't really apply, thankfully, to what's going on too often. But when Nia Long is out there keying Day-Day's car, and Uncle Elroy leads back and goes, "Hey, that crazy bitch out there again." And he goes running out there. He's got the restraining order on. He's like, and then Ice Cube's like, "You got a restraining order on a baby D? Like, you don't know baby D like I do."
You know baby D. She's snoring. She ain't even be asleep.
She know about all the bootleg snacks.
Cupcake got a new Twinkie. He's a bad motherfucker. I will quote in class as an educator. I will introduce a topic to a class, and I will say, "I'll be like, all right, you feel me knocking?" And kids look at me and they're like, "I think so." I go, "Well, let me in."
Or let me in. They have no idea what that's from.
They have no idea. I'm like, "Don't let me catch you in my refrigerator, and don't let me catch your fingers in my sugar bowl. You feel me knocking? Well, let me in."
Uncle Elroy.
Me and my sugar get real nasty in there.
Hot sauce, thank you. I say that too every time you
get hot sauce.
I go, "Hot sauce on my burrito, baby." My wife's like, enough.
Hot
All right,
sauce,
let's rip through a couple of the other ones, right?
Yeah.
These ones are obvious, so I don't think we need to unpack them too much, but they're on the list. Goodfellas, just super quotable, but just a great movie.
Yep.
We needed to have a mobster movie on there.
Get your fucking shine box.
I prefer Goodfellas to Godfather, but Goodfellas is great. Gladiator had to have
fucking great movie.
We obviously lean a lot of comedy so far, so we had to put Gladiator on there. Great movie is right. This movie, this was on my list, and it was pretty high up, and it's because I needed a 90s, like a mid-90s comedy. And there's a lot of good ones to choose from, like Dumb and Dumber and Tommy Boy and Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. I went with Ace Ventura.
I think you're right. I think that's right.
As a kid, I quoted that one more, and I think you might find yourself quoting that one, not even realizing that it's Ace Ventura, even to this day.
Well, holy shit. I mean, what great timing, because fucking Jim Carrey was just on Saturday Night Live.
Just dropped a
and he referred to the Who's or Her, and everyone in the audience knew what he was doing.
I talked like him probably that summer that I had my broken hand. I was probably for the best because I think I just talked like Ace Ventura that whole summer.
Which I'm glad I didn't know you then.
Yeah. I was so obnoxious. I talked like him the whole time. I remember I had the VHS tape and it came with a card that said like amateur or like whatever pet detective, and you put your name on it, and so you could also be a little pet detective. So I had that.
And you had that?
Yeah. Yep. Ryan, give us the next one.
Office Space. Something I reference all the time. Anytime anyone talks about Michael Bolton, anytime there's a printer that doesn't work in your office space, you have flashes of this movie.
So good.
And I just, two chicks at the same time. Like you say that shit all the time. Like
your name's Michael Bolton? Why don't you just go by Mike? Why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks.
Or I say about, some people I work with, not here, but at other places, when the Bobs are like, what would you say you do here?
That's the most quotable. That is the most quotable. Anytime you feel like somebody's not doing anything,
like, what are you doing?
Yep, 100%. That's a good one.
I take it from the customer.
I'm a people person. Can you see that?
Bill Lumbergh, all-time villain in a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Bill Lumbergh is absolutely great. And a young, flared Jennifer Aniston.
Yes.
Something else.
Absolutely.
Back then. Yep.
For
Don't
sure.
like talking about her flair, but man, she had it going on then.
Another comedy. We're very comedy heavy, but that's also part of the deal. I think those are probably more essential than anything else, at least for us. I'm going with Basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is another one. I think it's a little bit lost in the shuffle. Doesn't get referenced as much, but it's also like kind of sneaky quotable where like you'll just find yourself saying stuff and you're like, what is that even from? You're like, oh, it's from Basketball from like 20 years ago. Yeah.
Which Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I think the first time I saw this movie, I saw it and then I saw it on like a Friday night and then watched it 6 times that week.
Very rewatchable. Another one that
we
had it in the DVD collection. And
how many times we were like, no, it's not like horse.
It was like horse. It's a little bit like horses. It turns out.
Yeah, not that pussy ass 2-on-2 stuff you guys play in the suburbs.
Also oddly quotable, and my wife has no idea what I'm like. And so a triple's behind the meatballs? And she's like, what?
What? Or like, did I just fart? Everyone like that's like the running joke.
When they're
like,
doing the psych outs, the best psych out ever. Obviously, there's the Steve Perry thing, so I do that one too. But the psych outs where they send Squeak up to like the huge guy on like the Dallas team, and he's like, "Hey, like whatever your name is,
I heard your mother's deaf."
I heard your mother's deaf, and he's like, "My mother's dead." He's like, "I guess that's why she didn't move around a lot."
I remember hearing that line and just like falling out of my chair because you had no idea what he was going to say.
And
neither did he, because he was reading it off his hand.
The delivery was so bad, but it was so funny. And then there's also the scene where the guy that's ahead of the whole league is trying to like get Matt Stone. That scene is like laugh out loud fun. It's like cry laugh funny because Matt Stone is just not getting what he's putting down at all. Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Did I fart? He's like, what? No.
Yeah.
Oh, Jay
I love
McCarthy.
baseball.
Very good. So baseball wasn't there.
Sister's going out with Squeak. I mean, you say that to everybody, right?
But how they exaggerated like getting psyched out. Like if you said something funny while I was like shooting a basketball, I wouldn't fall down. But like it's great.
Why was the ref on rollerblades? That didn't make any sense.
Didn't need to be.
Didn't need to be.
Al Michaels and Bob Costas were also good in the movie.
Oh, they were so funny. Was that You're Excited to Feel These Nipples? No,
that
was
that was that movie. Yeah.
Yep.
The next one, we're also cheating. We're gonna pair these two together. Swingers and Made. Swingers is the more mainstream movie to this point. Jon Favreau, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn, my favorite actor of all time. When these two guys are together, it is magic. And Swingers put them on the map. Swingers is also a little bit more of like it's flirting with being a rom-com. Whereas Made is just outrageous because it's Vince Vaughn's character from Swingers, but he's not smooth and people don't take his shit. And
everyone hates him.
And it's the fastest talking. It might be the best performance by like a comedic actor in a long, like in that type of role that like I've ever seen. And it's super quotable. It's a little more niche, but it's why it's on our list. Like you had to see like Made also made its way through high school and we ended up getting it like on DVD. Like I don't remember that being a theater movie. I have no idea if it was.
No, it was like a straight to DVD movie. It was like a independent movie like Swingers, but it had all the people from Swingers in it and P. Diddy at the time, which was their big get for the movie.
And Faison Love, who Favreau used again in a bunch of other movies, including Elf, who's good. And he was playing this.
And again, Made Swingers is like the ultimate 90s lovesick guy movie, but it's also funny and also has like hilarious parts to it
and quotable, the
beautiful babies, like calling everyone baby, like everyone did that for a while, like that was the
NHL 94 scene.
Oh yeah, I mean make little Gretzky's head bleed.
I also do it like when we have a delivery guy come, I do the same thing. I'm like, is he clean? Is he clean? Let him in. If he's clean, let him in.
But like you said, Made is that turned up where Vince Vaughn.
Made's way funnier.
They just kind of let him go.
Yeah.
And like everyone, a Cardiff Giant, Jimmy the Driver, Cardiff Giant, Jimmy the Driver, Jimmy the Driver. And he never, anytime he's on screen, he's fucking talking. He never shuts up.
Are you the Red Dragon? Like he's just like, he blows every line. Like, where's the Red Dragon lay his head down? He's like, what?
There have been some who speculated that the Rich Keefe Ryan Davey relationship is much like a Vince Vaughn Jon Favreau relationship.
Oh, I wish that it was. It might be.
It kind of is.
There's definitely a little bit to that for sure.
Yeah. So there's been there. It's not me who's saying that. There have been people who have said that. So
I could see that. That's the highest compliment we've ever received.
I think so too.
He's so over the top in that. But anyway, very quotable.
Yes.
Rip through the next three. I know those are all favorites of yours.
Okay, so Ghostbusters, Big Lebowski, Army of Darkness. Like those are ones we can rip through. They're no-brainers. I think the Big Lebowski I saw by myself the first time I saw it, and I knew I liked what I was seeing, but I needed to watch it more. And the more you watch that movie, the better it gets. People quote this shit all the time. Ghostbusters was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the next one. And then obviously Army of Darkness. You talk about this might be the most quotable B horror movie I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I watched it again recently and I have not been able to stop quoting it all the time. I do it all the time.
Yep.
Bruce Campbell is an absolute genius in this movie. If you haven't seen Army of Darkness, I will quote it several times a day. Now that I've seen it again, I haven't seen it in a couple of years. Now I just watched it again and I can't stop. And you want to do the last one?
Yeah, the last one. I had to include it on my list. It was super high, and it's because it's the best comedy of the last 10 years. I cried laughing at least a couple of different scenes. That would be MacGruber.
MacGruber!
Gotta see MacGruber. And so we talk about MacGruber all the time. Some of the honorable mentions, Ryan, include Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Point Break, Monty Python, Ferris Bueller, American Movie, American Psycho, Almost Famous, Old School, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, John Wick, Silence of the Lambs, Naked Gun, Mean Girls, Terminator 2, and then I threw a couple of sports movies on there, Major League and The Program.
I didn't put a single sports movie on. I should have put Slapshot on there.
And
my dog's name fucking Ogie. Too. My dog's name Ogie Oglethorpe. Yeah. I should have put my fucking... But Mean Girl, I quote Mean Girls more than I like to admit.
Mean Girls is great. Mean Girls could have made our list easily.
She doesn't even go here. I
say
that all the time.
For sure could have.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next portion of the program. Ryan. Again, those are your 25 essential movies. So if you let us know what you think at Dork Podcast on Twitter, or you can email us dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Which ones do you think are essential, and what did you think of our lists?
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb. Pick of the bomb. Pick of the bomb.
All right, Ryan, would you like to kick, receive, defer, or defend a goal?
Well, the pick of the pod for a death is my webcam. So
yeah, what
is.
What the heck happened there?
I kicked it. I kicked the wire, and I can't find behind my PC which one it is. So look at that Rocket Raccoon shirt, by the way. By the way, that shirt, if you're looking at the YouTube thing right now, that's a shirt that will benefit the creator of Rocket Raccoon, who sustained like a really bad brain injury, and so it goes to like a Bill Mantlo. So check that shirt out. Anyway, I will receive this week. I'm going to start tonight a show called Truth Seekers, which is Simon Pegg and Nick Frost of Shaun of the Dead, and it's a TV show, and they're ghost hunters.
Yeah, I gotta watch this.
So I'm gonna watch this.
Amazon,
I'm gonna start this after the Patriots game tonight.
I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
My show, Davey, is on HBO, and it is called The Undoing. I highly recommend it. You gotta get your wife to watch it. She'll love it.
The Undoing.
The Undoing.
A Brer.
It's a David E. Kelly show. Nicole Kidman is in it. Hugh Grant, where has he been? But he's in this.
I can tell you where he's been.
Well, come on, that was a long time ago. And so, I don't know if you saw Big Little Lies or not.
No, but my wife was thrilled with it. She loved it.
So this is Big Little Lies in New York City, basically.
Okay.
And it's only 6 episodes, and the third one just aired last night. So they're halfway through. You could binge those 3 easy, and you could pick it up the rest of the way. Me and my wife have been watching it. We love it.
All right, right on.
So there you go. Real quick here, we don't have a ton of time because I gotta go watch the Pats. But the Mandalorian, little spoilers for Mandalorian's episode 2. We kind of hit it on at the beginning. Another episode where there is no Darksaber, no Ahsoka Tano, no Sabine Wren, no Moff Gideon, and no reference or mention or anything to it. Like or on
Boba.
Its own,
like he's carrying Boba's armor, but there's no Boba.
Right. And
there's no Cara Dune, and there's no Apollo Creed. I don't know the character. I'm just gonna call him.
Yeah, I know. I did like Baby Yoda eating the eggs. That was funny.
That was funny.
That was good. And it looks cool. Like it looks like a cool Star Wars thing, and like the spider attack and whatever, and the little creature that Mando's carrying. But it was like you only have 8 episodes, and you have decided to use 2 and like barely give us any like just a second of maybe Boba Fett, and then like his armor and like a Sarlacc pit. But I don't know. They dropped a "Hey, may the Force be with you" in there, but for the most part, I wanted to like the episode more. I feel like the Clone Wars could do with plenty of like, hey, there's a little off
side stuff.
And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, whatever, we're going to get back to it. But I wasn't that annoyed after the first episode, but after the second one, I'm like, all right, give me some of this shit. Or are you going to save it to like the finale? Like, what are we doing?
What are you, dingbats? What are you, ding-dings?
What are you, a ding-a-ling?
And the last, I'm completely on board with you with that. I do like the stories that they're telling. I just want them to get to the fucking where's the chase and how do we cut to it?
How do we cut to it?
And I will say, lastly, to end the pod tonight, Movember is still going on. You can't see my epic mustache right now. We've had a lot of great help. A lot of great people have been donating. If you guys want to join the team, if you guys are something, please shoot me a DM on Twitter. I can put you guys and give you a link. You can be put on the team, raise money, help us out, and spread the word. Dr. Joe's doing a great job raising money to help the cause too. So if you guys want in on that, please reach out. It's a great cause, helping men, and hell yeah.
All right, good stuff, Rye. If you want to rate, review the podcast, you can on iTunes, just about everywhere else podcasts are available. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dork Podcast. Follow Davey on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/RVonD. If you just follow him along there, then you'll get an alert when he goes live. We are on YouTube as well. Just go to youtube.com/Dork Podcast. We stream on Monday nights. You can rewatch old episodes. We'll occasionally put up other videos of stuff, and you can subscribe there. Plus, if you happen to still be on Facebook, go to #Dork Shared Gooniverse on Facebook. You can find out what's going on with us, Mac and Goo, the Pop Culture Pile Driver, the Change My Mind podcast, the Furlough Friends, Shime's Twitch, Dr. Joe's Twitch, and Davey's Twitch. So that is all available to you. And Ryan, before we get out of here, what do they say, sir, about wombats?
That they do square poo-poos. They do square caca.
That's correct. Thank you.